Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. With your host, Berzerker, this is Unshackled Fury.
The sepulchre has been breached. The sons of Stormwind have had their faith renewed. But the battle to save the Warcraft universe carries on. So welcome back to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berzerker. This is episode 104. And on today's show, we're talking first impressions of Zereth Mortis, now that it is live. That cinematic. And yes, this is an episode full of spoilers. But, most importantly, in order to adequately cover the major lore reveals in this week's show, I had to call in some heavy-duty reinforcements. So joining me today is the host of one of the most unique podcasts out there, dealing with the history of all your favorite dungeons. Another podcast that dives deep into the murky waters that are Warcraft lore, and a member of the best D&D game around, Eliandris, a.k.a. Ali. Welcome to Unshackled Fury. How the heck are you?
That was quite the intro. Thank you. I'm great. I'm super excited to be on the show. I've always secretly wanted to be on it. But I knew the co-hosts and the guest selections are just so minimal, and I was like, it's never gonna happen. And then you got into my DM, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
That's so it. Excited. That's what happened. You're right. I'm very selective about who comes on, for better or worse. I don't know. I said this a while back when I started to appear on the Warcraft radio side of things. That I don't do a lot of guests, but. We have like crazy stuff going on. Number one, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know that I can handle it all by myself sufficiently. But two, you're an amazing part of our community, and so kind of up front here, I want people who listen to this show who may not necessarily know all of your places and things and whatnot to get to know you better, because you are a real active member of our community. I'm like a hermit, and I'm somewhat online and sometimes on Twitter and kind of doing stuff, but you are out there promoting stuff and being on stuff and promoting other people and really chatting folks up, and you have done a tremendous job of being one of the good actors out there. So looking, at least from my vantage point, I believe you are also a BC baby.
I am. I think we started not too far from each other.
Okay, so listen, that was the best time to come in, if you ask me.
It was great.
We created the best wave. We're like the best generation. Those of us that came in. You came in as a BC baby, a rogue, if I understand correctly.
Yes,
you started
dwarf rogue even. Dwarves are
rogue.
awesome.
Still rocking. What are you, Death Knight nowadays? What are we playing?
I wish. I missed my Death Knight. I did Legion. I was half Death Knight, half priest, but I made my priest because people need heals because they like to stand in shit that shit they shouldn't stand in. So that's what I do.
At one time, you were a former hardcore raider, but have you gone back?
No. It's more of a just kind of casual ATC. Like we work really hard to progress, and but it's also not like super hardcore stressful either. It's a good balance.
There you go. Honestly, that's the best way to go. That's the way that my group has been. We have not gotten the AOTC in the last couple of tiers, but maybe this will be the one.
It's been a weird time in the community and player base, and yeah.
It really has been. You are also an avid Avalanche fan, which, as a Sharks fan, I know we're talking hockey here, people. Just relax. You're an avid Avalanche fan, which I can't hate on the Avs. It's a good franchise. You guys have won. I don't know what that's like. I've never seen a Stanley Cup other than on TV. And you also have dogs and a sniper in the house. So you have a very robust background just outside of WoW. And
I do.
On top of all that, what else do you have going on? What other real life things before we dive into the WoW stuff? What other real life things keep the attention of Allie these days?
Well, beyond all the things you listed, I'm a preschool teacher, which a lot of people don't know.
Oh my God.
They don't imagine when they see me and all the things I'm doing, they don't imagine preschool teacher, but that's my background was elementary, and then I didn't want to deal with the current system, so I did early childhood instead. So yeah, I'm a preschool teacher beyond all that business, which is really different because during the day, I don't work with a whole lot of people who are gamers and nerds and everything, and so I have to be very different. Whereas off of all that, when I actually get to just normal life, I can just unleash all the nerdy goodness.
Oh my goodness, you're like a real life hero. Preschool. This also explains how you have so much patience for Jin.
He requires no, he really doesn't. He's amazing, and I love him. But the patience does help when you are interacting with community sometimes, or just trying to raid and bash your head against the wall when fighting Sylvanas for 100, 200 something times.
Don't even get me started. Did you guys get it? Did you guys get that one?
We got it the very last week.
Good for you.
we were kind of close, but we got it, so that was exciting.
Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations. Well, let's dive a little bit into Warcraft. So you at least of what I can recall is that you have had Dungeon Fables now for 3.5, almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think you started somewhere mid 2018, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yes.
What, for the folks that maybe don't know, what is kind of the thrust of that show, and what was the genesis behind it? What made you say, you know what, this is my jam, this is what I'm going to put out there?
Well, I knew I had to pick something. If I'm going to devote time to podcast about it, you got to pick something that you are passionate about, or that you at least enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I enjoyed the lore and the story, except I was not, and I'm still not, a master. I'm more of a servant of the lore, as I like to say. And so I didn't think I was able to do a massive scope of a podcast for lore. And so I was like, what else do I enjoy? Dungeons. Okay. I can maybe explore the lore through dungeons and raids. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I liked when other shows had fun with it and played voice lines and that kind of thing. And so I was like, well, I've got to have voice lines. Because, I don't know, when you're sitting there at work or cleaning or doing whatever you're doing, it's kind of fun to hear voice lines and game sounds and just, tap into that, nerdy side when you're doing your adulting stuff. So that's how it all kind of came together in the neat little package that is Dungeon Fables.
And the show has grown in scope over time, because when you originally started, it was a much shorter show, and it was designed to be like, here's your quick bite while you're in the car, 20 minutes or whatever. And now these episodes are longer than anything I make. It's like an hour 20. You're going deep. Is that just kind of a natural evolution of the show?
I intended to keep it short, but as I went on, not only did I start diving into the lore and bringing more of the lore in, I also started, trying to involve the community and asking a question every week and that kind of thing. And so that took up more time. It just kind of, as some shows do, it kind of changes and evolves over time until it is now. And now that we're getting into the Legion era, the lore is becoming even more intense and deep. And so it's something. It takes a lot more than a 15-minute episode to do all that now. And so it's trying to find that balance between still keeping it, fun and informative, but also not too rambly. Because I like lore, and sometimes that gets rambly when I talk about lore stuff.
I think people love that, though. At least from what I hear, right, is that people love it when somebody like yourself has that deep, rich base of knowledge to pull from, and you can just pull stuff out of it. Oh, like, yeah, and this relates to this, and this thing is this, and this is where all of this fed into this thing. And not everybody sees those ties. They're just going, oh, it's just a dungeon, and I got to get through some trash at a boss, and I got to get this thing, and I'm out. And they miss a lot of that background and that story and that fleshing out, like, oh my gosh, well, this is how these characters got here, and this is all that stuff. So, I don't know, I think ramble on. I think that's what I'm saying, is ramble on.
Well, it helps when you have things like Wowpedia and Chronicles and places where you can pull the information from.
But they don't have any personality. That's where anybody could read that. But you bring...
That's true. That's true.
I think you bring a really relatable vibe, too, which I think is something that makes what you do out here in the podcast arena very successful, is that I feel like there's kind of like... I used to talk about with Nav how those of us that create content like this, it's almost like being in a VIP club, but different people sit at different tables. And like we were at the Bud Light table for a long time, and there's like people over there like at the Cristal table. And when you look at those other tables, like it's kind of hard. Like they'll talk about the same stuff, but it feels like they're distant. It feels like they're separated kind of from the everyday player, which is why I like so much your approach into the variety of things that you do, because you are very relatable and you bring this sort of easygoing way about you. And I think it's been a tremendous part of your success, just kind of from an outside perspective. So congratulations to you for bringing all this in and all the success that you've had so far, and building off of that. So it's not just Dungeon Fables. You've also been part of All Things Azeroth. Yeah. Which is one of like it's like one of the Pantheon shows. Like this is one of the podcasts that's been around for, Medros and that show have been around for 1,000 years. And how did you get tied in to that? Because you hadn't been doing Dungeon Fables for all that long, and then whoop, then I see you on All Things Azeroth. I'm like, oh my God, there's Allie. She's got another show. What's she doing over there? So how did that come about?
Well, that was the 2018, I think. Time's really weird because of the pandemic. As I like to say, time's not a construct of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It must have been 2018. So I was, and I think you were there that year. The pod before the con thing on Twitch that we did. Yeah. And I think that was the year that Medros was moderating it.
I remember that. I was there.
Yeah. So it was after that, Medros, started talking to me. It's like, hey, I think you did a great job. Would you be interested in coming to guest on the show and get a feel for things? Because he wanted to bring another voice into the show. And yes. I mean, he wanted it to be a 4-person show for a while. And so it was a good fit and it was a good chemistry. Toasty's awesome. We became good friends too. And then one of the hosts, Fandeath, had to step away. So it kind of worked out nicely that, real life kind of took him away. I was there to kind of help fill in. And then I just kind of stuck around for a while. So that's how that came, which was to be on a show that was that long running and one of the originals. It was a high honor, and I learned a lot of podcasting, not only just as a technique, but also about myself as a podcaster through doing that show, which was pretty great.
I need you to teach like a course, like a master class, so I can sit at that and learn all the stuff that you guys learned. Nobody taught me shit, so I would be more than happy to sit in on that course.
That course would consist of me laughing nervously a lot and being a dork and easily amused, and then shutting up and letting other people talk, because that's about all I would do.
So now you have Dungeon Fables going on, and then you get looped in on All Things Azeroth. And then for some reason you decide, you know what? I don't do enough podcasting, so I'm going to do this other podcast, Live, Laugh, Lore, with our buddy Jin, who was doing the Morally Gray podcast, which has since departed. But now you have a third gig going on. And where did that come from? Because I've never actually spoken with Jin about that at all. Because when I had him on the show, I don't even think that this podcast had been created. He was still just doing Morally Gray. So where did this podcast come from for you?
It's all Jin's fault. Just blame him. It's fine.
Oh, well, happy to do that.
Well, he wanted to do more because at the time, he's doing Really Gray, and that looks at the lore and story from the past and starting from the very beginning. And he also wanted to talk about current stuff because there's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
And our two shows, through Jen and I talking, and we also got to meet at 2019 BlizzCon, which was amazing. And our two shows kind of became like friend shows and like help each other out and support each other. And I guested over there and that kind of thing. And Jen eventually just reached out and was like, hey, you don't get to talk about new stuff. I don't get to talk about new stuff. We're friends. Why don't we just get together and talk about new stuff together? And the whole stipulation was that we both of our shows require a bit of time. So we decided, bi-weekly, at least for now, just to, got to keep some kind of life balance going. And
that's my favorite schedule.
We just started going off on it. And we both, well, okay, I'm not going to speak for Jen. Pretty sure he likes it too, but I'm just gonna speak for myself and say that I love doing that show and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun just to get a chance to geek out about, things you like.
That is really what it's all about. And that is what it should be. And so then at that point you have 3 shows going on at the same time, at least for a while, yes?
For a while. And then I hit my wall and realized this can't happen anymore. And then I was trying to stream and I'm still trying to guess and everything. And just, that life balance thing, it's you got to take care of that. And so I started hitting a wall and realizing I needed to change something. And I was kind of thinking like, what show should I step away from? And that's not an easy decision at all in the least bit. And so I eventually decided that maybe it was time I step away from all things Azeroth and just focus more on the lore stuff. And it also happened to be about the time that all the it's not lovely. The horrible ABK news broke out.
Yeah.
That, just kind of worked out. And Medros, reached out to us and was like, hey guys, if you feel like you can't keep podcasting about this, I don't totally understand. And I had a very open, honest conversation with them. It was like, it's not so much the ABK stuff. It's just that I've hit a wall and I need to cut back a little bit. So, and also just at the time when I wasn't sure if I still felt okay doing a podcast with all the news that came out, it felt easier to me to talk about the lore and story and just kind of hide over in that area versus having to talk about the news every single week and every little thing that came out and all of that. So it just kind of oddly worked out in a way.
Yeah, it has certainly been an ugly period of time, and we have seen a number of our fellow content creators decide to close up shop because it's a decision that we all have to make for ourselves. And I've talked about this here, is that even before all of this, it's a game. We're talking about a game. It's supposed to be fun. Right? It's supposed to be fun, and if it's causing you problems, then you have to do something about that. And it oftentimes we have that conversation with relation to rating, where people are getting burnt out and you're tired of whatever, and nothing is exciting, nothing is fun, you don't care about anything like that. That's burnout. That's the time when you gotta take a break or walk away or whatever it is. And we talked a lot about that when Nav was here, about how eventually you might get to a point where you're like, none of this is good, and some people make a decision to stay just because of the people. But I don't think that that's enough. I think you actually have to enjoy what you're doing, or else then you start to hate the people, and then you burned it all. So that's not good. And it's excellent that you realize that for your own mental health and well-being, because that above all else right now is kind of paramount. Especially living in the bizarro time that we live, whatever timeline we got jettisoned into here. It's the bullshit one. But you
it really is.
But you do also stream on top of it. You mentioned this, so you do stream, and you're often streaming games. I have no idea, something about a daddy, and I don't know what you're talking about. But there's like things going on. So you do have other streams. So what's kind of the setup with your streaming that you do now?
It is the most casual, low-key stream you'll ever watch because I don't have the time and energy and effort to make it super fancy. And it's only once a week. There's some Sundays I have to skip you know, because of life. And so it's something I don't take seriously at all. But it's just, you know, if people want a place to chill on Sunday nights, I just hang out and chat with chat and play games that I can easily hang out with chat while I play. And it was WoW for a while, and then the ABK stuff broke out, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to stream WoW, so I took a little break and played Curse of Monkey Island.
Okay.
And, you know, a point and click from old days. And then when that was done, I let Twitter vote on what game I was going to play next.
Terrible
and
decision.
Dream Daddies.
Oh, God. Don't let those yahoos decide. Dream Daddies. Dream Daddy. Okay. Now this is what this tracks.
I've never played a dating sim before. I've never played this game. I don't know what I'm getting into.
Is that what it is?
It's just silly. Yeah, it's a dating sim.
Oh, Lord.
And so basically, I'm doing it with the chat, and I'm making chat make decisions, and the chat was the one to help me build our dream daddy, which oddly ended up looking like Daniel Radcliffe. I don't know why, but it did.
Oh, my.
And so it's just really awkward, silly fun that chat gets to decide since they chose the game.
Well, you know what? Crowd participate. It's good. It's good for the viewership, right? Because they feel like they get a hand in whatever mischief that you're up to. Oh my goodness.
It gets pretty ridiculous, and you know, once that game changes, we'll very quickly change to something else that's probably not a dating sim because I'm super awkward, but it's fun. It's just lighthearted fun because, you know, if you're gonna game, have fun with it.
That's it. Honestly, it's a game. It's supposed to have fun. You know, people, you know, there's enough going on right now in the world. The last couple of years, the last week or two, amplified even more right?
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing, and this is going to be a space where we're going to focus on fun stuff and try to have a little escape for a while, because Lord knows we can't escape from it anywhere else. So that's fantastic. So you currently have Dungeon Fables, Live Laugh Lore. You got your stream going on. So you have your hands full, along with the D&D group that you and I are both in, that Jin is running. It's a fabulous game. I talk about it on here. We have our next event coming up, or a next streaming date, whatever you want to call it, on the 12th. So it's just coming up.
Super excited. Here. It's been so much fun, and it's been fun too to connect and interact with you guys on a different level, not just Warcraft, but some other, you know, geekiness outside of Warcraft, and it's just so much fun.
I think a lot of it turns into you and I smashing shit, and then other people being like, all right, let those two do that, and then meanwhile Lance will shoot somebody in the neck from under a table, and then we'll move on. It's so much fun. It really is.
It's great.
if you haven't checked it out yet, March 12th on Jin's Joint on Twitch, we'll be doing that. And before we move on, so now that people have had a chance to get to know you and what you're up to, I did ask folks out there in the Twitterverse and the Discord something, if anybody had any questions, anything open-ended, they could ask you anything that they wanted. And I did get a few questions.
Oh my,
so
all right.
Here's what we've got. First question coming from the Queen of Murlocs. You can probably see where this question's going to go. Allie, how do you feel about Murlocs indirectly helping to create the current version of the Horde?
Yeah, I saw that question. I was like, wait, what? And I was admittedly a little confused, and I actually reached out to Jin. I was like, Jin, what is this? What is going on? Because Jin, like I said, I'm a servant of the lore. I don't know everything. Jin is better with his memory and pulling things out of somewhere that I can't do. So Jin pointed out that the Murlocs killed Senjin, which honestly I'd completely forgotten about. Completely. And so I was like, okay, that makes a little more sense. Like maybe indirectly a part of it, because losing Senjin kind of gave room for Vol'jin to step into more of a leadership role and then actually becomes the war chief. But then Vol'jin dies, and Sylvanas does her thing. And so, I mean, it kind of, maybe indirectly help shape the horde that's there today, but it's honestly not something I had ever considered being fact until I saw that question. I was like, maybe there's something more to the Murlocs that I never even know.
I'm discovering that all the time. Apparently, they're not just the little bastards that chase me off when I'm doing certain quests in certain places, but yeah, that's wild. I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either, to be completely honest. And I've always liked Murlocs. And I have wanted to know since the beginning, what realm in Shadowlands do the Murlocs go to? Where are the Murlocs? Every single expansion, we see a Murloc or some form of a Murloc, and we know where they are. And there's tons of them. Where are they in the Shadowlands? We've killed so many. They got to be somewhere, right?
Those are the
Where
big
are
dudes
they?
in the Torghast. They just get just immediately thrown into the maw and they become giant pains in the ass that chase me around.
That's
in
why there's so
Torghast.
many Mossborn. They're all Murlocs.
That's it.
You heard it here
Murlocs
first.
become Mossborn. Starts with an M. That's the connection. I'm sure of it. 100%.
Well, there's one place in when you're going through the Necrolord campaign, right? Well, not campaign, just a starter quest, and you find the corpse of Cookie. You've seen that, right?
The corpse of who?
Cookie.
Who is that?
Well, the little Murloc dude from Dead Mines.
There you go. Yes.
So you see his corpse over in while you're doing the Necrolord area, starting them, not the class campaign, but the actual, just starting area.
Yeah.
And around him, there's like a bunch of little things that kind of look like the corpse of Cookie, and so I don't know if that was where the Murlocs go, but that's all we've seen of them, and it's not clearly Murlocs. So I feel like we got robbed of Murlocs this expansion.
Straight into battle and then killed again and then sent back. It's just a cycle.
I guess.
Of eternal battle. I don't know. All right, your second question. This is from Jen. Jen submitted a question. What is your favorite obscure lore fact?
I've got a few, but one of my favorites is from Karazhan, the original Karazhan, because that was my first raid ever. I loved it. It's amazing.
Yes.
So, do you remember the satyr over there in Kara?
Yes.
Kind of hiding behind a bookshelf?
Yes.
So his name's Ilhoof.
Yes.
And at his feet, there's a corpse on the ground. And this was never confirmed anywhere. This is just me piecing things together.
Okay.
So there's this dude named Dugan. I think that's how you say it. Duggan or Dugan, one of the two.
Yes.
And he came to Kara to investigate, because what was happening is a bunch of people would often come to Karazhan to, snoop around and investigate, see what, mysterious Medivh's up to, but then they were never heard of again. And so Dugan came in to go investigate, like, where did these people go? Can I help them? And Ilhoof killed him. And so I'm pretty sure that corpse that's at Ilhoof's feet there is actually Dugan.
Ooh.
He's not named or titled or anything, but he's there. And so for me, I like finding those little, bits of information and details that someone at Blizzard chose to put in as a little flavor, a little spice in there. And I think those are always neat. So that one's one that just always stuck with me for some reason.
That's a deep cut.
Right?
That is a deep cut.
It was just one of those moments I was like, ooh, that's so cool, because I've run that thing so many times trying to get the mount that I still don't have. And it's just, kind of always stuck with me.
That's fantastic. That is a great one. Those are the only two questions that were submitted. I apologize, my reach isn't greater than what it is. I thought about making up a bunch of other questions, but I was like, nah, we got so much to talk about. I don't want to waste Allie's time.
Yeah,
Although I did,
it's fine. It's fine.
I did get one question for myself, also from Jen, which is for anybody that follows me on Twitter, you know that the show is late by a week because I was in Arizona last weekend and I had some family business to attend to, and I was asked if I rode a horse with no name because I had a tweet referencing such a thing. And no, I did not ride any horses. I rode a rental car named Camry. That was about the most exciting thing that happened.
Different kind of horse.
Different kind of horse, steel horse, like Bon Jovi used to sing about. On the steel horse I ride. All right, well, that's I think a pretty solid overview of you and who you are and whatnot. But listen, folks, you got to go out and listen to her on her great shows to get a fuller sense of Allie and her wonderful knowledge on all things lore and otherwise. So get out there and check out Dungeon Fables and Live Laugh Lore. You will not be disappointed. And before we jump into the news, I got one bit of business I got to take care of here, and it affects both of us. So, unfortunately, Warcraft Radio, the radio itself, is no more. And for those of us that just joined in, myself and affiliates such as yourself, it was I'll be honest, one of the kind of the main draws. I was like, hey, they got like a 24-hour gig going, and I could be a part of that, and that sounds great. That radio has been silenced, and there was no tweet, there was no formal declaration, but it is no more. So I did want to say just a little bit on here about that. So if you go and try to launch the app, if you try to go anywhere else, nothing's gonna happen, and that's it. So I know that the folks behind the scenes, Athelis and the crew, they're working on stuff. They're in a lab somewhere, putting things together, and
they're always working on stuff. They do great things for the community.
Yeah, they're always up to something. So hopefully down the line there will be something else, something new, something different, something more. Who knows? Well, I might know, but I can't say. And or I don't know. And we'll find out. But I just want to let folks know that is the case. So if you do listen to this or Dungeon Fables or anything else on the Warcraft radio stream, the radio itself, it is no more. But you can still check out all the great shows. You can still go to a Warcraft radio page. You can still see like Girls Gone Wild on the Twitch page for them and all that kind of stuff. So none of the shows are going away. It's just the stream itself. So I just wanted to give a quick word about that. So enough about that. Enough about all this other stuff. We know who Allie is. Now we've learned all about her and Warcraft radio and all that, blah, blah, blah. We're going on to some news because we got stuff to talk about. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, yes.
So let's go. So before we get to the thing, like the thing, we're going to talk about Zereth Mortis a little bit. So we know there's a PTR and there's data mining and blah, blah, blah. And, I try to just not pay attention to any of that. So what we're going to be talking about now at this point is Zereth Mortis, now that it's live. And now that 9.2 is live and we're actually playing through the story and seeing what's going on and who's involved and what do we have to do, blah, blah, blah. That is the angle, the lens, if you will, through which we are viewing this situation. So 9.2 drops. If you're all caught up to speed, you essentially, like most of the places that we go, we have to fight our way in, and we get lost somewhere, and then we have to fight our way back and find a portal back. So that's essentially what happens. We fight some Nathrazim. We meet up with the what's his name? Oh, god damn it. The Primus.
Primus, yes. You forgot the Primus name.
I forgot the Primus.
Disappointed.
Because I always want to call him the other dude with all the legendaries. See, I'm bad about this.
The Runecrafter?
The Runecrafter, thank you. See, this is why I brought a lore person on. I need backup desperately. So we fight with them. We get through to Zereth Mortis, and we got to chase all these folks down. We piss off the Enlightened, who are there like, whoa. Who are you? What's going on? Like, why is this happening? We got people fighting everywhere. We have to earn our way into their good graces, and even they have kind of a separation there because we meet Fareem, who's kind of like our first little guide, but he's exiled, so the Enlightened don't want to talk to him. They don't want to talk to us. We have to like kind of, it's like going back and forth between divorced parents. And you're like, I'm gonna help out a little bit over here. I'm gonna help out a little bit over here, and try to make peace in the valley. And so eventually we're able to open our way back into Oribos. You know, our forces come in, we see all our friends again, and along the way, we get to fight ourselves. I really enjoyed that. I want a big shout out to Mal'Ganis. I got to fight
Mal'Ganis shenanigans.
You know, I gotta say, and you know, we'll get into the cinematic later, but Mal'Ganis has got to be pretty happy up to this point that he lasted longer than Arthas did. You know, I mean,
You would think, yeah, I would guess so.
Here he is. You taunted the guy. You told, "Hey, come get me, motherfucker!" Ah, and then
I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth.
That's right, and beyond. And
literally,
look who that worked out for. Along the way, we also find this injured Oracle who ends up using her last bit of energy to give us probably one of the greatest little sidekick characters of all time, little Pokepoke.
I love him so much.
That can either really be a hit or miss, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we get our little Pokepoke, and we're introduced to the Cipher of the First Ones, which is a whole other side gig that if you're into it, lore people. There might be some pretty wild stuff there. Sylvanas awakens. We have to go through and see the cinematic that we already saw some time ago about, you know, her sort of reconciling the two parts of her soul. We repair a key that allows us to get into the sepulcher after the jailer and them messed with the Forge of Afterlives and busted their way in, locked us out. We got back into there. And so at the point that we're kind of getting into the raid, we've opened our way back into the sepulcher. We're rescuing Anduin as the first priority. We've kind of established a base there in Haven, but there's still a lot of work left to do. So it's kind of like the initial stage, that first, you know, sort of rush of us and our troops and beating back the Mossworn and kind of fixing a few things here to make some friends, but there's still a lot of ground to cover. But overall, having now had just a brief period of time, because we haven't been in this patch that long, and we're going to be in this patch a long time.
Yeah, we really are.
Just want to throw that out there. We're going to be there for a long time. I'll throw this to you, my valued guest here. When we're looking at just initial impressions, what struck you as the things that immediately hit you as, yes, they hit the right notes. These are the things that I'm enjoying. These are the things that are good. What are the highlights of this patch so far?
I really enjoy that sense of wonder. You know, when you go in and, you know, the first thing you see when you and Pelagos land is these big gold balls just floating up in the sky. And you're like, what's going on with that? You're walking across water that goes down, but you're just walking across it like it ain't a thing. I was like, what's up with that? Like, it just, that sense of desire to explore is back, which feels great. And I really enjoy that. And the music to go along with it was just, the music's great. I don't know a lot of people don't like to play their music on. I suggest you at least turn it on for a little bit, listen to it for a while. It's fantastic.
Play with the music. Play with the music, please. It's good.
So good. So good. But yeah, it's you know, we're getting a little more story, and you get that sense of, you know, there's some big stuff going on here with the first ones, and you want to learn more, and we're getting it in little bits with the Cypher stuff. I want it all now, so I'm getting a little impatient. But it's been a lot of fun. It just, I am one of those people that, maybe it's because I'm easily amused, I don't know, but I enjoy the puzzles. I enjoy the jumping puzzles because I'm crazy. And Pokepok and the story and just going around and exploring all the nooks and crannies and finding a new rare and how do I go get that chest? What do I need for it? On one hand, it feels like a lot because it feels like there's just so many, again, little items that we're collecting. And my bag space does not like that. And that's been a little frustrating. No. But overall, I'm just having fun exploring and going around and, you know, going for my frog mount and doing all these little things and collecting all my hats for Pokepok because he looks amazing in a pirate hat.
I think it's universally agreed that little Automa friend of ours is gonna go. It's gonna be the next plushie right next to our little bird friend.
Pepe. Yeah. I don't buy a whole lot of those, but I absolutely will buy. I'm hoping for a little figurine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one that like rolls or something. But I'm gonna be sad when we leave Shadowlands and I don't have him by my side.
Well, don't worry. It's gonna be like at least a year, So
True.
You're gonna be rolling. You're gonna have all his bits and pieces. He's gonna have hats from here to eternity. Which, by the way, how do you get these hats? Do you just find them in treasures and rare stuff?
Yeah, they're mostly in treasures. Like there's a tricorn hat and there's a cheesy pirate hat. And for example, the cheesy pirate hat, you have to have him or Pokepock get into this little like dead jellyfish Atoma corpse thingamabobby, and then he just rides on down there and then tells the treasure chest to gets it and brings it back up.
Wow.
Just does his little thing. I'm like, go buddy, go get it. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's awesome.
I feel so behind, and I'm trying to like I unlocked the customization options, and I was expecting more to be in. I'm like, where's all the hats? And somebody's like, no, you got to go find them.
No, gotta collect them.
Let's say, I know you even corrected the tweet where they were, the Warcraft tweet was like, which one is your favorite one? And you're like, nah, bro, you missed one. Where's I think it was the chef hat or somebody.
The chef hat. Granted, I think in the picture did show the pirate hat, which I do think is the best one. Although the candle, it's got a candle one that's like the kobolds. Like that one's actually pretty sweet too.
Boy.
But I found the chef hat pretty quickly after that picture. It's like, how could they not include the chef hat? It looks amazing in the chef hat.
Hey,
I'm easily amused. I mentioned that. It's a thing. Pokepock's right in my alley. It's great.
But that's the right, I think, hit for something like this, because you go back, Jesus, it was, I think, 9 years ago that the Thunder King patch came out. I think right around that time. It's Timeless Isle, right? Timeless Isle was a huge success, and it was, I think, the first time you'd seen something of that variety, with all this really random stuff going on, and
yeah.
It's proven to be a wildly successful path for them in patch content. Is, well, there's a story and there's some dailies, but then there's all this other random stuff that you can do. We did it in the last patch, and now we're doing it again in this patch. And I continue to think that is a really great way of extending the enjoyment of a patch, because it's easy just to go through and go, okay, checklist, here's all the things that I need, boom, 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 I'm done. Well, what are a bunch of these rares doing out here? What about these treasure chests over here? What about all this other stuff here in the background? And now we have this cipher of the first ones where, like you said, that's going to take time. Like that's not just something I can grind out in one day. But as somebody who chases all these things down, what are your impressions of the cipher of the first ones? Do you think that system is fun? Is it lame? Like where do you sit on that?
As of now, I think it's fun, and it's fun to be slowly uncovering more and more of the words and that kind of thing. And because you do a little bit, you get a few words. I'm like, ooh, what's this gonna be? And then you get more and more. You get more of it, and it's. As of right now, very beginning, I'm really loving it. Plus, just walking by the Atoma and hearing their like musical language bit, like that just sounds awesome. So kudos to Blizzard for that, because it's great. But I'm sure that eventually, because we are going to be in this patch for a while, I'm going to hit a point where I'm like, okay, I've done all this now. You didn't give me all the information I wanted, because I want something meaty that you sink your teeth into, and you gave me just a little bit to, string me along. But that's okay. Yeah. But for right now, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's great.
Good. I feel like once flying is unlocked, that will also help folks to kind of speed up this process as well, because especially you mentioned the jumping puzzles. As a warrior with Heroic Leap, it's great because I have to wait for a cooldown sometimes, but I can just jump up to a bunch of different places and grab things. I know that's not exactly what they had in mind, but they know that it's going to happen, and that's just how that goes.
Well, yeah, I mean, warriors can do that. Venthyr have their, Dora Shadow thingamabobby they can use. Yes. Warlocks have their gates. Like, I'm just a lowly worgen who can't do any of these cool things because I'm not Fae. But so I get a little envious sometimes when watching someone after I've been struggling for 20 minutes to jump on this ball to get to that ball, and I watch someone just doop, and they're done. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, bye.
See
I can
ya.
just keep struggling over here. It's fine. But yeah, flying will help. Plus, there's so many. I feel like there's gonna be so many other little areas to explore that are, when you look up, you can see all the little hexagonal shaped pillar thingies up there with like a rare I can't get to yet, and a treasure chest that I can't get to because it's way up there. So that's gonna be a whole new level, which I think is gonna be a lot of fun.
So I'm glad that you mentioned kind of like the architecture, because I think that is probably one of the more divisive elements at play here, whether spoken or not. The divide, it seems, between people right now, and I'm not going to drag in all the real life extemporaneous horrible ABK stuff. For some people, like myself, riding around on my mount in this wholly otherworldly place fits like a certain kind of sci-fi genre vibe that I enjoy, and I don't mind in this universe. Like it's fine for me. I think it's fun. You look up in the sky, there's all these geometric shapes, and you're like, man, this really is like a whole other place. Like this does not feel like something that I know, and that's cool because it's something new and different. But at the same time, for a lot of other people, it's not their Warcraft, right? This is not dragons and sword and shield stuff, and I get that from the perspective of it, and it's hard to explain. I think people, I can't explain how anybody else experiences their emotions. I can only explain how I experience mine. But there is a very specific emotion and like this groove in my brain that gets hit when I'm watching like Lord of the Rings or Conan or like early Warcraft stuff. There is like this kind of older, I don't know, it's like a 70s, 80s fantasy vibe. Like I can't quite explain it, but there's this very specific groove that gets hit, and it's a good one, and I love it, and it's the thing. I'm like, God, I love this. Is my jam. I'm here for it. And I expect that's something similar for other people, that this Shadowlands just doesn't hit, and they're like, this is not Warcraft. This is not what I enjoy. This is just too far off the beaten path. And I've seen a number of people say what you're saying, and kind of along the same things that I'm saying, where I'm enjoying it so far. I like the little puzzles. The story makes sense. Like we're going through it, and all the little bits and pieces. It's fun, and I feel behind, so I feel very pressured right now, where I'm like, oh God, I gotta catch up because I was out of town, and now I gotta do all these things, and so that part's not fun. But that's not the game's fault. That's just me being a nudnik. That part is all great. But I've seen a lot of other people say, no, this isn't going to bring me back. This just isn't it. And jumping ahead, everybody seems to agree that the Dragon Isles is the next place that we're going. And that could be the return for a lot of folks that they're looking for. But right now, Zereth Mortis won't be that. It's a whole other wild-looking place. And as we talked about before on this show, is that it is split into different environments. There's one that to me reminds me a lot kind of like this Pandaria vibe, where
it's beautiful.
Very beautiful and green, and there's water, and there's all this stuff going on. I like that one. The other one reminds me too much of Silithus, and I don't like it, and it's all sandy and weird shapes, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And there's like murder hornets and stuff, and I'm like, nope, I don't want to be out here. I don't want to be on the east side of this map. It's all bad, but I have to because it's a daily, and I gotta get it done, or else I'm gonna get thrown off my raid team. So that part's not so great. The size of the zone, I think, is amazing. It was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Again, I didn't go on the PTR, but I got out there, and I'm looking at the map. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I start riding around, and I go, whoa, this place is enormous. I need flying ASAP because it's going to take me forever.
And I'm glad it is. Like, Korthia was, one hand, it was kind of nice that Korthia was small because it's easy to get around. So when a rare pops up, you might have a chance to go get to it. Mm-hmm. This zone is smaller. The zone is bigger. And so when a rare pops up, if you're not by it, I mean, if it's late at night, you might get a chance to get to it in time. But if it's during the day and prime hours, you're probably not going to get to it in time. Flying will help with that, though.
Yes. I I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that is kind of one of the downsides I've seen right now, is that I have had a very hard time getting to any rare that I can see, where it'll pop up on the map and I'm like, I'm rushing to get it. Or sometimes there's chests that I'll see like in the corner of the map and then it'll disappear. I'm like, no, I missed it. Or, there's something that I didn't quite get to fast enough because I was, finishing that one last mob kill and rushing over. So like you said, maybe the timing of the day, you get a little bit more lucky, but that will be fixed kind of naturally as you progress, right? Because you'll get flying and people will be able to get around quicker, and we're going to be able to see stuff that we haven't seen yet. I do worry a little bit about the sort of grindiness of what is going on, and hoping that will be rewarding and fun, because at a certain point, the common lament that I see with patches is that, well, it was fun at first, but now I'm just kind of doing the same thing, and the reward is not as rewarding. No other way for me to say that, but that for me is going to be the challenge here, is that the fun stuff is fun at first. Will it continue to be fun 3 months from now? And I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think it does help. They changed the, what is it called? Patterns or fractals and patterns. The thing they changed to weekly.
Yes.
As opposed to every 3 days. I think that helps a lot, because, for some people, they're
I couldn't do it.
Not happy with that change. But for someone who, may not get to log in every day and still wants to be able to keep up with what is needed for the raid team or whatever it might be, like you and I, it's nice to be able to have a little more time and get it done within a week. And then I think because, at least for me, because of that change, I'm hoping it takes away some of that grindy feeling. And I'm not rushing to get all of the fun things done now. I'm just doing it little bit by little bit, because there's no need to rush to do it right now, because we're going to be here for a while. So at least they made that change. So I'm hoping that staves off the grindy feeling, because there's lots of other variety of things to do. But I'm sure at some point it's going to get that grindy feeling, because we are going to be here for a while. And they might be able to do some things with 925 to make it feel a little better. But either way, it's going to hit there eventually.
Yeah. Cross-faction play is not going to save it. I'm just going to say that right now. I know everybody's real jazzed about it. But
no. I'm hoping we get Brawlers Guild in 925, because we haven't gotten that yet. So that's going to help.
I know. I missed that. I was thinking. I've thought about that a couple of times. I'm like, man, that was my jam. Getting a crocodile mount and a bunch of other shirts. I still sport the shirt that I got. My champion shirt or whatever that was. I've been wearing that for like 8 years or how long it's been. It's been a while. So overall, looking at Zereth Mortis, I think we both agree it's a good first step for this patch. It's a good place. We got a lot going on. It's been interesting so far. We've got things that we kind of quote unquote have to do. We've got things that are optional and are fun. We've got a sidekick that we can customize, and like I've got the long van braces on him, so he's got like big shoulders, and got a couple colors going on, and you've got what hat is yours sporting right now? Your Pokeball.
Well, it changes based on my moods, honestly, but I tend to go for the cheesy pirate hat, the skull and crossbones. Yeah, it's great.
It's like a big mood ring.
Kind of, yeah. Well, because sometimes you're feeling a little more, maybe I need a little more of a chef's hat. Maybe, you're thinking it's funny that he's got a candle in his head. I don't know. Apparently, some people, I've seen pictures of people that do have Pepe on there, and I don't know if it's because of a toy or if he actually has a Pepe hat you can collect. I know at some point you can find one that's called a Dapper costume.
Oh.
I don't know I don't know if it's a monocle, but he only has one eye thingamabobby, so I don't know how. Maybe a top hat? If he has a top hat, I will put on my top hat because I'm a Worgen, and we will be Dapper together, so that's great.
Yes. That would be fantastic.
Possibilities for matching transmogs. It adds to your power, really.
That's a good one. Well, I think we buried the lead long enough. We ventured into Zereth Mortis. We've made some friends. We've established some footholds. We opened our way into the sepulcher of the first ones. I personally have not stepped foot in this raid yet, but here's the deal. The first week, as we've discussed, the first 8 bosses of the raid were available, leading up to the Anduin fight. Now, I don't think that there's any secret here beforehand. I'm pretty sure we were all sure that Anduin was somehow going to be saved, however that worked out. So it's not entirely like, oh no, I didn't expect that at all. But here's the deal. Up to this point, we haven't really talked about a whole lot of spoilers. We are definitely going to be talking spoilers now. So if you haven't seen this, you don't want to see this, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time. But we're going to spend the next however long talking major spoilers. So from here on out, be warned. So we get to the Anduin fight. And essentially the fight with Anduin in the raid is we're trying to essentially help free him from the jailer's domination magic. We're trying to empower his will, if you will, to try to break free. The fight is intended to be like the level of an end raid boss fight, so it's intense. There's like crazy abilities. It's going to be really challenging for anybody that hasn't been there yet. I have seen a few of the sort of guide videos. It's intense. The Lich King does show up. There's the remnant of a fallen king. I'm like, it's Arthas. Like, we all know it's Arthas. Why are we even doing this? Yeah, it's the model and it's a shadowy Lich King model, but you're still fighting him and doing the thing. And then at the end, I want you to essentially win the fight. A cinematic plays. Everybody, that's watched it has seen it now. And some people who have listened to the show long enough are going, Berzerker, you are always going on and on about spoilers and how you avoid spoilers. And why are you doing this now? And why is this the thing? Well, let me tell you. I was on the fence about whether or not I was going to do this. And then the decision was made for me. Because I didn't know this was out yet, and I happened to pull up Twitter. And one of the first tweets that I read was somebody that I know making comments about what was in it and completely spoiled it.
Why people?
At that point, I was like,
that.
well,
I'm so sorry. Oh,
yeah.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah. So at that point, I was like, well, the big surprise, it was about Varian. So the big surprise was already blown. And I was like, well, fuck it. I guess I'm going to have to watch it now.
It's Varian, you have to.
Yeah. And so that decision was made for me, essentially. And with you, Allie, coming on the show, it just made sense because you're the lore queen. I mean, there's no better person to have on to talk about this stuff. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to take this kind of in two halves because there's sort of the Anduin half in the front and there's the Arthas half in the back. And so essentially what happens, the cinematic starts to play, our intrepid force there, and Anduin decides he's going to go, well, he doesn't decide, he's forced to decide to go full annihilation mode, jams a sword in the ground. He's going self-destruct, I think was the plan there, that he was going to be full of this domination magic and explode and take out everybody with him. And that was how the jailer was going to win the day. And as he's plunging the sword into the ground and this bubble of black magic kind of envelops him, as the jailer is saying essentially that, you are bound to me and as all that wield my blade. And at that moment, my faith, I tear up just thinking about it. My faith was restored when out of nowhere, Varian's hand appears on the shoulder of his son. He says, my son. And Anduin, shocked, he looks up and he sees his father, and his father gives this great little speech about, this, you can't fall to darkness. This blade can't fall to darkness. It was forged from valor. And then, on the other hand, boom, there's Sourfang's hand and honor, he says. And, we're here together with you. And they put their hands all together on the blade. And then Anduin screams and, splits the sword into two, which I don't know if you know that, but the sword can do that. It splits into two.
It's true, yes.
What's that?
Let's say yes. There's a whole. This sword has so much story to it that people just don't know. So it's a thing.
And we're gonna get into that a little bit. So he breaks it in half. The collar, the physical collar that was on Anduin shatters, and then you see like his armor go back to the golden armor that we know. The swords go back to their previous form. And Anduin is then at that point finally free of the Jailer's Grasp. So after all that we've been through in this expansion, at that point, he is finally free. And I just kind of as a side note, we always talk about the voice acting. The voice acting is great.
Phenomenal. The entire thing. So good.
Josh Keaton's scream when Anduin is like breaking out of that and pulling that sword apart and breaking free of the bonds is one of like the all-time great, like deep emotional, like I felt that. Like I felt that happen.
Yes.
I was like,
it was so good.
I don't know where they took him, because when we watch these panels, these great voiceover actor panels at like BlizzCon and whatnot, they talk about how they take these actors like to some deep, dark, crazy place to get these emotional reactions out of them, to get the voice lines and the things that they need. I don't know where they took Josh to on this one, but it was fucked up, because that was as guttural as, you could just hear like the kind of like the inflection change in his voice. Like it's intense. It's intense. Like it was.
You can feel it. It was so
big.
good.
So let's take that first part where we're essentially about to all die. Anduin's going to blow us up. Ghost dads come in, give the boy some strength. He breaks out. So kind of on the face of it, right? Varian showing up. That I've been waiting for that all expansion. Like for me, that was the big question. We heard about Shadowlands. I'm like, where is Varian? I don't care about anybody else. I don't want to know what anybody else is doing. Where is my dad? Where is Varian? What has happened to him? Why am I not seeing him? And they were like, well, we might not be able to get to everybody. I'm like, I don't care. I want Varian. Like, what happened? And here he is. And we'll talk about maybe what he is or what's going on here in a second. But the variety of callbacks in this cinematic, I thought, were amazing. And the very first one being the my son, right? You go back.
Gosh, I just that minute with the hand on the shoulder, my son, just immediate tears flowing down my cheeks. It was, and at that point, I know for me, I had given up all hope of seeing Varian or Sorrowfang. Like I thought, okay, it's not happening this expansion. I gave up. So that moment with the my son with and the callback, emotions, so many emotions.
It did its job. Credit to Tara Gregory and the team, right? It did its job, because, and I tweeted at him and he was like, "Yeah, I thought you might like this." I was like, bro.
Oh, Taryn Gregory knows you.
And see, here's the thing. I've told this story on the show before, is that when they had the Broken Shore cinematic and they killed off Varian, like, I was pissed. Like, I was not happy. Like, I knew he was gonna die, but like also like the way that they killed him, I was just like, man, like,
yeah, that was rough.
Like, that wasn't just a death. Like, you annihilated him. Like, there's not even a body to bury. Like, that's fucking, I've had to deal with people and they're, it's a bunch of handful of ashes. Here's Varian. Like, I've had to put up with that shit for the last however many years, Like, that wasn't great. And then I told my son, I had to tell my son, and my son was like, what? They killed our king? I was like, yeah, they killed our king. He's like, oh, no. So I saw, I went to BlizzCon that year and I saw Tara Gregory and I was like, bro. Like, he saw me, I saw him, we hugged, and I was like, man, that was amazing. But dude, that was brutal. He's like, yeah, well, that's that's what it is. That's what we do. So ever since then, we've always kind of had like this. I'm not saying like Taryn Gregory and I are best friends. I'm not saying he has my phone number. I'm just saying that from a casual distance, he and I have interacted. But there is a known thing that there is a Varian thing between us, right? And so when that happened. Yeah, it was, the big shift between the version of that, just those two words, right? My son, with Varian in this loving and supportive way, and then also going back to the opener of the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic, the original cinematic, it's my son, and it's that great voiceover that we know since forever ago. And also to have this connection to the weapon that I think some of us that get way too into it are like the only ones that remember or feel it. Like, this is Charlemagne. This is a magic heralded weapon that originally was 2, and so you're the perfect person to talk about this. So I guess for folks that maybe don't know, can you give them a little history about Charlemagne, Shalator, Elamain, and any of that stuff? Is there any part of that you want to jump in and kind of educate about what this is.
Well, again, I'm not the master, but basically they were originally 2 elvish swords. Off the top of my head, I don't know actually how they got to Varian, so I'm kind of failing with that. But
Jaina gave them to
at
him.
one point, what?
Jaina gave them to him.
That's right. Good call. Good call. See, you know things. Great. So at one point in Varian's past, he was split into 2. And you had Logosh, and you had, Varian, the one that was, came to, Stormwind and wasn't quite himself, and the other one who was, off fighting and being epic and awesome. Mm-hmm. And at one point, long story short, the 2 came together when everyone realized what was happening, and Onyxia had taken Anduin and, doing all of her shenanigans. And so they went to go fight Onyxia. And they had the 2 halves of the swords, right? Mm-hmm. And so fought Onyxia. The 2 variants kind of came together. And so the swords came together. And they've only been broken back into 2 times. Once with Varian, doing his thing, right? And the other one with Sorrowfang when Anduin gave it to him. Mm-hmm. So, which is why it was those 2. And that's why, these 2 and the sword has these deep ties. And that's why, it matters. What happens in this matters.
Mm-hmm. So, there are, I should say, a variety of competing theories about what we're actually seeing here. Because to me, when I'm looking at this, I go, okay, here's Varian, here's Saurfang. They've shown up in this moment. We get a callback to the King Anduin cinematic back in the 7.2 patch with Legion, where he picks up one part of the sword at that point and has that vision of Varian, saying, got to do what a king must do. Right? That's what we're doing. And then you see the power come back into the sword, and there's the change of color, and some call it a gem, some call it just an orb that's inside the sword there, near the hilt. You see that re-empowered. What do you? So to me, I look at that and I go, I feel like I'm seeing the souls, the real soul. This isn't just some thing in his head he's imagining. There's something real here. To me, I feel like there's something real. But some people are saying, well, it's just in his head, and it's he had a moment of clarity, and this is what he felt, and then that's what gave it to him. So and there are other theories also among that. But as our resident lore expert, or servant of the lore. When you're looking at this, what do you think transpired inside that death magic bubble?
I had to watch it a couple times because the first time was just the initial emotions, and then I watched it a second time because after it was done, I was like, wait a second. Why are they there? Why? Mm-hmm. How can they actually go to a realm of the first ones? And where the fuck have they been the entire expansion? Because I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. What is even happening right now?
Yes.
And so I watched it again, just water your eyes through it. And I had to really think about it because I was like, that made no sense to me that they were there. There's just no way that they're there. Mm-hmm. And then I had to actually think about, to that King Anduin cinematic. And, Varian wasn't actually there. I mean, they were in Stormwind in that, vision. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, Anduin was, over on the Broken Shore. And so I don't know. I don't know. I've gone back and forth between it was in Anduin's mind. Mm-hmm. He was conjuring up what that sword meant, especially because the jailer was over there saying, this belongs to me. And Anduin's like, oh, hell no. And here's why. And then, brought back up Varian and Saurfang. And so part of me wonders if it was just in his mind and just what he was thinking and processing in order to get the courage and oomph he needed to overcome the magic. Mm-hmm. But then I heard a suggestion that maybe somehow Varian and Saurfang's souls are somehow attached to the sword because it is such a meaningful, important thing. And the more I think about that theory, the more I like it.
Yes.
And I don't know if Denuzer's going to come out and be like, yep, that's it. But it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because at first, now granted, I'm kind of a sucker for fan service.
Yes.
Because that's just how I am.
Yes.
But it almost felt like it was kind of forced fan service to try to make people happy.
Mm.
But then considering Charlemagne and everything, was like, that actually fits more naturally than just Anduin thought them up. So I kind of like that theory, and I hope that's a thing.
Yes. So I'm 100% on board with that, as you probably could have guessed or heard me going in the background. Think back to 7.2, right? Back to the King Anduin cinematic when he picks up the blade on the broken shore. Take us back to that time. We didn't know anything about the Shadowlands. We didn't know anything about the souls of Azeroth. We didn't know anything about any of these places and how this afterlife works or whatever. And so we took it as its face value. Is he picks up the sword and he kind of has this, you know, sort of, I don't know, vision, you know, just a vision, however you want to describe it. And he sees, you know, as his father, and it gives him the, you know, the will to move on or whatever. But take it in conjunction with what happened with this cinematic, where here he is again in a dark place, and the soul of his father comes to him in a vision, and then also now Saurfang comes to him in this vision, and the one thing that connects them is that the weapon is there at the same time. Also connecting the fact both Varian and Saurfang died wielding that blade. And they died in circumstances that had some kind of weird magical shit going on. So couple that with the fact that the sword itself is imbued with kind of unknown magic dragon power. Like that, it was Onyxia's magic that forged that blade in the first place when the two halves of Varian were combined. So there's other stuff here that we don't quite know. So to me, it is entirely possible, considering we've also seen the nature of a sword in this universe that can do weird soul things and either strip a piece out or do something. To answer your question, how did they get there into the realm of the first ones? Well, they were brought in, right? They're like a Trojan horse. they're in the sword as like a Trojan horse, just waiting to come out and save the day. Right? That maybe there's some piece of them, some echo of them that is in there, and at the right moment, because I always thought that the light was going to save Anduin. I always thought that this was some kind of a ruse, that he was willingly being kept. No, apparently he was not willingly being. I was all wrong about all that. Like, he got captured.
He was super dominated.
Super dominated. I'm like, all right, there's no secret plan here. And I thought somehow, like, he was going to find the light, like the physical connection to that realm was somehow going to save him there. But no, it was this other thing. And so to me, it entirely makes sense that their souls, that of Varian and Saurfang, are somehow connected to that weapon. That maybe it's a vessel, or it's a conduit of some kind, but somehow it represents a connection to these characters, and this is a way to access that. And so in that moment where it was as dark, they somehow emerged, or they came together. And even after, like, the sword breaks, right? Anduin is now sitting there, and he's got his golden armor, and he's, his stuff is starting to go back to normal. You see kind of like this power come across the blade, this golden energy come across both of these blades and reform those orbs into the swords. And so again, I'm looking at that and going, well, could that be some kind of energy related to these two? Is it essence related to these two, that you have these two halves and each one is represented by each one of those characters, and then together, I don't know, maybe they're having a barbecue in Stormwind. I don't know. But I like that theory. I like that theory very much because...
I do too. I hope that's actually what it is.
But I also think you're right. We'll never know. I don't think we're going to get an answer to that. And
I hope we do. I hope that someday Denuzer just comes out and admits it, but I just don't... I don't know.
Yeah. It would be extremely satisfying. And as I've talked about, I am also a huge sucker for fan service. And I don't apologize. Give it to me. Give it to me every time. Give me as much as you want. I don't care. I want it so bad. Like, people were like, oh, like Rise of Skywalker. Oh, there was too much fan service. All right, give it to me. I want it. I've earned it. You know what? I've lived through piles of shit recently. We all have. We deserve to have something nice and comfort food. Comfort food. I want comfort food for my gamer soul, and this was it. Right. But let's talk about the second half of this. Because I think the second half is even more controversial, shall we say. So here we have Anduin saved. He's coming back together. Jaina's with him, kind of checking him out, right? And there's this blue floaty orb that's now sitting there. And as we've learned, the blue gem that was pounded into Charlemagne and turned it into Kingsmorn, that was that remnant piece of Arthas's soul. We saw that piece materialized during the Anduin fight, and that's part of what was part of the thing that we had to have to defeat. But now there's just this blue floating orb there, and it occurs to the group, oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's all that's left of him. And Sylvanas, more than anyone, gives what I think is a pretty good, not a speech, but has this great moment where, on one level, some people have read it as, oh, she's kind of admonishing Arthas, or she's gloating, or she's saying, look at you now, and this is what you've become. Where I think a lot of us have looked at this kind of on another level of, well, I think she might have been talking to herself and was like, look what happened to this guy. And I'm kind of following down the same path. But she has some lines for him, and she talks about, you essentially have nothing and are nothing. And I've been hunting you and chasing you, and now this is where we are, and now I've got to deal with everything that I've become. But, be gone. Be gone, blue orb of Arthas Menethil. I thought it was really powerful. The lines, the moment that she had with Arthas. Nobody else, Uther has a couple of spots there, but for the most part, everybody else is not saying much. It's really Sylvanas' moment. I thought it was really powerful. Very meta. I thought very meta about, this is as they've said, the end of kind of this era of Warcraft. But for you, looking at sort of the dissolution of the final remnants of Arthas, and Sylvanas having this moment of her own kind of reconciliation, how did this come off to you? What were your thoughts and impressions of this half of the cinematic?
Oh, I have so many. First off, I have to say, like, the fact that everyone can see this and have different thoughts and theories and be invested and discuss it, whether you agree with someone or not, like, that tells me it's a good cinematic. Mm-hmm. Because it does bring up, it makes us care about this moment and brings this discussion.
Yes.
Personally, as someone who, like, this was my first MMO. So when I started in BC, I was just thrown into the fire and flying by the seat of my pants and trying to figure out what I'm doing in this MMO.
Yes.
Wrath is when I started to actually care about the lore and the story and become passionate about it. And as such, I really liked Arthas' storyline. And when we killed him in ICC, that was the end. It was fine. And I accepted that. And then Shadowlands comes along like, you might get to see him again. I'm like, oh, Arthas. And so I was really excited to see him again. And I thought this was going to be the moment. I'm a little upset.
Yes. Yes.
They did him dirty. It does not, for me personally, it doesn't feel good, and I am frustrated and angry. At the same time, I have to acknowledge that for Sylvanas, you're right. That was a really powerful moment. And I kind of think it was both. I did feel like she was speaking down to him some and admonishing him and judging him. But in the same breath, also realizing, like, here is what I've become. Because I think her two parts are together now. Because she did spend all that time hunting him and wanting her revenge. And after what happened with her being a banshee and everything, I mean, and just her jumping off ICC and all these things, like, it just, there's so much of her and her life tied up with him. And so I think she needed to have this powerful moment, and I am all for it.
Yeah.
But coming from an Arthas fangirl a bit, and someone who really liked the Lich King and everything, to have that be, again, after being teased that maybe he's back. And no, I didn't want him to have a full redemption or anything like that. I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
His story's done. It didn't need to have more added to it. But just, he didn't even have a face. He didn't have any voice lines. Like, in that moment, and I don't know, I'm not the writer. I don't know what I would have him say. I'm not going to sit here and try to figure that out. Just, I was hoping for a little something. And for it to be just, hey, here's your legacy. May it be forgotten. Okay, bye now. Like, that just, it didn't feel good. It was very frustrating. And I didn't like that. Yeah, that's me, though.
So here is where the rage portion of the show comes in this week.
Let's rage.
Let's rage. I was also very upset by that. It's kind of like the scene from The Godfather. Look how they massacred my boy. You know, I was like, no, because think of how unfair this is. Here you have, as we've now learned, right, all of the machinations going on in the background related to the jailer. The jailer is the one who's responsible for like all of this stuff. So Arthas was just another one of the pawns that got thrown into this game.
Yes, thank you.
Just like Sylvanas. So why does Sylvanas get to earn this redemption arc or whatever it's going to be, and Arthas gets jack shit? Like,
gets to be forgotten as if he's 35 anima, because that's the joke being made now, and I'm like, no, he's not 35 anima.
I saw somebody said like something like a sniff full of anima or something. I was like, I can't necessarily disagree. I'm not saying that it was wrong, but I don't like that part of it, because as like the high of the variant part, right? And I was tears, like literally tears when I showed this. When I showed this to my wife, right, I watched it once like on my computer, and then I went downstairs and I watched it on my big TV and the whole thing, and she was down there minding her own business reading a book, and I went and sat down and I turned it on, and when it came on, she's like, what are you watching? I'm like, what? Watch this. And then when Variant comes on, it's like the Leo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the screen. I'm like, look, it's my king. And I start tearing up. He said, it's my boy. He's saving his son. You know, and it's like the father of a young son, right? It's just like all these connections are being made, and I'm like tearing up, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And then like that part comes, and at the end of it, you just kind of get left with this feeling. Like it's like you're sad. You're like, oh my God. Like,
well, and the Invincible music's playing, and so that just adds a whole other level of emotion, and you're like, oh, like you think this is the moment, this is it.
Like it's you know, are we gonna get a ghost? You know, something where he says a goodbye, even like, you know, I'm sorry, or you know what? Nothing. It's blue wisp into nothingness, and it definitely left me wanting. I will say that. I get it for the Sylvanas sort of end of this, but I felt like he was just completely thrown aside for the sake of that storyline, and for a character that is so integral to everything that we've done, to leave it to just, oh, okay, well, he's gone now. Let's move on. Yeah. Like, like, no, I wanted to see something, someone, somewhere. Like, where's his dad? Where's King Tyrannus at? Nothing.
Well, and some people made the point that, you know, if he were to be there, because it's Arthas, it would become the focal point of the cinematic, and that's not what it's about.
I get that.
And I feel like there's a way to balance it where you could give him at least a little more of a nice tie-up, but without making it all about him.
It makes sense in the piece where we've killed him, he died, right? And then Uther, like, think about this. He died as a pawn of somebody, then Uther, also a pawn, took his soul, threw it in the maw. That whatever piece of his soul that was left gets mashed into a hammer, used for nefarious purposes, finally breaks free, and then you're just like, yeah, you little shit. It disappears.
Right.
Like that's they just, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
For me at first, I was upset in my first few watches that Uther and Jaina, like Jaina was just like, so this is Arthas. Like, and Uther, like they don't really say much, and they have more tie-in to Arthas, like as a person, not the, you know, Frostmourne version of Arthas. And at first, I was really upset that they didn't actually get a chance to say anything about it or have any of their own closure. But at the same time, as other people have pointed out, they had their own closures in their own way already with him.
Yes.
And I think now I've come to grips like that. It's okay. Like they have had their closure. Like Jaina had her closure. Uther had his closure. Like I think it's okay now. But what were your thoughts on that?
I think that's 100% accurate, because we went through Jaina's story in Battle for Azeroth, where she went through, awesome. The first significant story in Battle for Azeroth, which is Jaina going home, dealing with all of her various demons, because she'd been a lot through our stories, and we hadn't really dealt with that. And so to see her have to come face to face with the horrors of everything that she's dealt with, that makes sense now that she's resolved coming into this moment where it's like, I've already dealt with that, and this is this is sad. This is a piece of somebody that I used to know, but you know, I'm more concerned about Anduin in this moment, because up to this point in time, that's why we've done everything that we've done in recent times, is to get to this point to save Anduin, and now that's who I'm concerned about, because we just had to fight him. There's a bunch of crazy stuff, and then, oh shit, there's some blue smoke over there that used to be my boyfriend. Like, I think that's the right focus. And with Uther has also moved on. Uther is now, more than anything, having to play the bridge and peacekeeper between Sylvanas and the rest, because they're like, fuck her, she shouldn't be around. She annihilated an entire, city and wasted thousands of innocent souls, and why is she even here? And Uther's like, well, we had a chat, and she touched me, and I touched her, and now like I'm able to kind of
just like that.
Yeah, I'm able to speak between both worlds here. Just give her a chance. Just give her a chance. So it's an odd spot for him to be in, but he also came to a peace with that, and so now really it is Sylvanas that's left, and I don't know. It's interesting to me that this is how they decided to thread the needle between bringing Arthas in, which we all knew would happen, and not making it necessarily about him and giving Sylvanas that moment, because we still have to see again how that plays out, the missing epilogue to the storyline that we're playing through now, this judgment idea of what happens to Sylvanas. I maintain that I'm still going to be very unsatisfied personally, because I don't think that she should have been given this wild redemption arc that she's getting, and we saw it coming. Nav and I talked about this years ago. We're like, well, here it goes. Everybody gets a redemption arc. And they sacrificed Arthas's for this one, which some people are going to really dig. And that's cool. And if that's your jam and you're like, yep, they handled this perfectly, and I'm all about it, hey, good for you. I'm not necessarily going to talk you out of that. Just for me, it sounds like for you too, it was unsatisfying to see this as the end of one of the seminal characters of this franchise, like the end, like the true end, like the death of the dead. Right. When there could have been more. But I'll tell you the truth. If it means that I get Varian in some form, and that's the trade, I'll take it. So I can't really. Yeah, that makes sense. Too bad.
I'm hoping. I'm really curious to see how they handle Sylvanas Source of Time and the Sylvanas book coming out end of the month.
Yes.
And I don't see her ever getting a full redemption. I don't see her sitting down and having a meal with the Night Elves. That's not gonna happen. Now maybe some kind of atonement.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't see that. And at the same time, like, she's also been a character that's been focused on for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And Blizzard tends to either end those stories after quite a while or bench them. And so I kind of think it's time to do something with her character.
Yep.
Bench it, tie it up, do something. But if she gets this full redemption and gets to continue on, like, everything's hunky-dory, and that's how they finish Arthas, I'm going to be very bitter.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But how, I guess, since, again, you're the perfect guest to have on for this, given the context and the story and the history and everything else, how do you think that they're going to resolve this? Where does Sylvanas end up at the end of Shadowlands?
I don't know. For a while, I thought she was going to be maybe the new jailer, the keeper of the damned and the Maw or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know. It is good to see her start going through this development of, oh, hey, I did these things. Well, she did those things, but she's technically me, so it looks like I'm going to have to deal with this now.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's starting to face the facts, which is good. I don't know. For a while, I thought she was going to go down in Blaze of Glory and die helping us somehow, and then that's how they end her character.
Yes.
And now I'm not so sure that's how it's going to go. So I don't have an answer, and I really wish I did. I have no idea at this point.
I was very much on board with the Blaze of Glory. Like, I thought that was... to me, that would have been the most straightforward, simplest way to handle it. Is she sacrificed herself when we needed something to happen? Like in this instance, if she sacrificed herself to save Anduin after helping put him in this position, I would have been like, you know what? All right, that makes sense. I get it. That I'll take that ending. I feel like now, just kind of based on some of the cues that we're getting for folks that maybe watch The Walking Dead, I feel like we're going to go the Negan route, where here was a big bad, someone who was terrible, who did awful, heinous, horrible things, but then you lock them away for a while, you make them do some gardening for a couple of years, and then they come back later and like, you know what? This person has seen the light. And now they're ready to right the wrongs, and, they're not all good. They're kind of the anti-hero, but some time has passed, and now it's okay. Because, people are talking about the fact that maybe going into the next expansion, there's a time jump. Well, maybe, she spent the last 10 years locked up in a tower considering her bad deeds and knitting or something. And now she's...
Can you imagine her, like, just sitting down on the floor, kind of half fetal position, like knitting? Like, that's a mental image now that I'm not going to be able to get out of my head. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You can think Demolition Man when they implant that into Sylvester Stallone when he's in cryo freeze, and so when he comes out of the cryo prison, he's like, I just want to knit. All I want to do is knit. How do I know how to knit? And they're like, well, that's something that they put in you when you're in cryo freeze. I feel like it's kind of like going to be the same thing, because it's just they love Sylvanas too much. And I think part of it is because Patty Mattson is like an amazing individual, and they love working with her, and she's like a
and that's the thing.
stud.
Like I don't want to necessarily get rid of Sylvanas because I don't want to get rid of Patty Mattson, but at the same time, like, I'm kind of ready to move on and focus on some other things now.
it's well, first it was Gul'dan for 19 expansions, and now we've had Sylvanas for another like 50, right? So it is time to move on, and it does seem like the team is headed in that direction. It's not a hint; it's really pretty bold stated of this is going to wrap up pretty much Warcraft 3 up until now.
Right.
And going forward, it's going to be kind of a new thing, and people are like, oh, it's going to be WoW 2. It's not going to be WoW 2. It's just going to be another expansion. Just relax.
Just another story arc, like, it's
But I could see where it's a jump 10 years forward in time, and maybe something happens with the dragons, and they come back, and we empower them, or they get empowered, or Anduin's now older and has a beard. I mean, then he becomes Daddy Anduin. Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be any number of things. And then they're like, we need Sylvanas for this thing, and you go in, and she's been locked in a tower, and like, are you ready to come out? Yes, I confess my sins, and now I'm all better. Where's Uther? I mean, it could be any number of things, but overall, I think we agree. Really great cinematic. It does
fantastic.
It invokes all the emotions that you want, as you mentioned. The music is huge, and
oh, it's so big.
This cinematic is a crystal clear way of seeing how the music very intentionally is leading you in certain directions where you mentioned it. Invincible comes in, right? Invincible comes in that probably I would argue the most famous piece of Warcraft music. And you see the blob and we get into the whole thing. But then you get, I believe, into the Lament of the Highborn as you're getting into more of the Sylvanas stuff. And so again,
that fades in, that fades out. Oh, so good.
It's incredible. And there are so many callbacks in this cinematic, and we can't really go through them all. But one other one that I thought was so great was, again, going back to the original Wrath of the Lich King intro cinematic, where's the voice, my son, blah, blah, blah. The very day you were born, the force of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas. Right? Then you go into this cinematic where it says, "May the last whisper of your name fade." Right? So it's the book ending again.
It is that part of it definitely was well done. I have to give it up for that for sure.
Yeah. I get ridiculously emotional about some of these. Not all of them, but some of them. This is one of them. I can't watch this and stay straight the whole time. I just can't.
Right. Like and that's the thing. Like, it makes you care. Like, it could be just a cinematic and then we move on, but no, like, it's a cinematic we watch multiple times and we discuss and we dissect and we have emotions and maybe you can change our opinion about it. And that is a sign of a good cinematic, even if you don't fully agree with every aspect of it.
That's right. And this isn't the end either. So even though we've gone through all of this and we've gotten a raid finale level cinematic, there's still 3 bosses, including the jailer, left to go. So we still have to fight the Lords of Dread, including Mal'Ganis, who we talked about earlier. Ragellan, this first one, not a first one, a Constellar, which looks like some other versions of characters we've seen before, Algalon being one of them, who's been dominated.
Super excited about that fight.
So I'm sure that was going to be just mind blowing in terms of scope and visuals. So get a good setup, because you're going to want to turn all the graphics effects up, because I have a feeling that one's going to be pretty wild.
And listen to the voice lines. Like, I have not looked into that fight. I don't even know if they've shared what the voice lines of that fight are going to be, but I think it's something that the lore community is going to be dissecting with a fine tooth comb, if it's anything like Algalon.
Yes. Definitely some little tidbits being dropped in the water, because they're so good about that now, where it's like, I'm just going to leave this little line over here, and you'll go, wait, whoa, what did that guy say? Did he just say what he said? Yeah, he just said what he said. Oh my God.
Meanwhile, my guildies are dying because I'm not healing them because I'm paying attention to voice lines. It's fine.
Taking notes. Yeah, so we have that one, and then we have the jailer, right? We still don't know what's going to happen. There's some theories.
It hasn't been tested publicly. It hasn't been data mined. We don't know. We're going in blind to this.
Pretty amazing. I have seen many a theory. I've read a few of the potential leaks on this show, and there's been a flurry more since I did that.
Of course.
But where do you think we end up? We'll put our stakes in the ground before the next cinematic and the next end come out. Where do you think this universe ends up at the end of this raid, the true end of this raid, with the defeat or the end of the jailer fight?
I've gone back and forth on whether I want the jailer to be killed or not. Because on one hand, he's a big bad. I want to kill big bads. On the other hand, all of a sudden we get handed this character who is to blame for so many things that has happened throughout history of everything.
Yes.
And we just met him and we're already killing him off. And that doesn't feel great either. But at the same time, because we haven't had time to sit with him and time to really have to, fear him or be intimidated by him or anything. He's just a guy we just met. I'm okay with us killing him off. And I don't know how that happens. My guess is I'm hoping Anduin gets a shot in there with Charlemagne. It does some good damage.
Yes.
That's where I'm gonna put my stake in. I think Anduin's gonna get some revenge.
Ooh.
And it's gonna be beautiful.
Okay. Well, that is a big question coming out now, is how is Anduin going to be after this situation? Because if broken AF. This poor kid. I mean, and we've talked about. We go back to Shadows Rising, right? We go back to Shadows Rising, where we got a bit more insight into this kid who's essentially had to grow up at a very early age in terms of responsibility and everything else. He's about
19 now. He's gone through all this stuff, and he's 19.
Right. And it seems that he may be dabbling in a little, I don't know, not priestly magic, or at least not light side. A little bit
of shadow tendrils sneaking out there.
There could be some shadowy tendrils. So you combine that with a guy who's been through a lot, was just dominated, nearly killed everybody, and then snapped out of it because he saw his two dads. Like, that's a wild whiplash to have to go through, and then you're still like back in a fight. So I could see Anduin doing something in a moment where, so I'll put my stake in the ground here. So yes, I think we get to the end of the raid. The whole, I don't know, working idea or premise of this expansion has been second chances except for Arthas, and redemption except for Arthas. And so maybe, yes, we get to a point in the fight where they don't kill him, he's been defeated, or he's been depowered, or something happens, and they go, okay, we're going to lock him back in the maw, whatever it is. And Anduin comes in and just fucking Leroy Jenkins the situation and takes him out. And at that point, there's now questions about his state of mind. Right? They brought him along, or he convinced them to bring him along. I don't know. I was just shot in the dark. I'd be wrong as hell. But it would set up some of the theories that I've seen were coming out of this expansion or out of this time frame. People aren't sure about Anduin, and should we trust him? And now back at home, we've had another dude sitting on the throne in Stormwind this entire time.
Right.
We've had Terrellian out there. What's he doing? What's his story? Maybe people are like, you know what? We kind of like this guy. He's got this rugged face and golden armor, and
who is, hanging out and dating Illyria, who's, very voidy, and all of a sudden he's kind of okay with her voidiness. So that's going to be a whole other thing, I'm sure, especially if anyone listens to Il'gynoth Whispers. There's a couple of them that might potentially point to Terrellian, and so that's going to be a whole other thing, hopefully next expansion.
Yep. See, folks, this is why I brought a lower person on, because they know all these things. And yeah, I could imagine a situation where coming out of this, the jailer is dead, maybe by Anduin's hand, but not what they wanted. I could also see it where he's depowered and they throw him in a dungeon somewhere, and they're like, well, that's it. We're not going to kill you, but you're also not going to ever be able to do anything ever again, and we're going to chain you up for eternity or something like that. But whatever it is, we're going to find out soon. And I would imagine shortly after is when we'll get the 10.0 announcement, because it can't.
Yeah, it's got to, people are starting to get antsy. It's got to happen soon. Yeah.
What do you think? It's what, March? It's March 6th as we record this. Do you think we'll get it by the end of the month?
See, I don't know. It kind of depends on what is in the Sylvanas book, and if there's anything that's big story stuff. Because if that's the case, I'm guessing end of April.
Oh.
Just to give people time to read that. But maybe
you think they'll give them that much time?
No, probably not. When I'm being honest with myself, probably not. I'm going to say that we get an expansion announcement on March 24th. I'm going to go with a Thursday.
Okay.
Every once in a while they do things on Thursdays. So I'm going to go, I'm probably entirely wrong here, but I'm going to say March 24th.
Well, let's take a look, because I do have this handy dandy thing here. So the book comes out March 29th.
Yes.
So the book comes out March 29th, and that is a Tuesday. And I'm trying to think of how long, because I would guess to give people a week. I'm gonna say the week of April the 4th. The following week.
That was one of my thoughts too. Yeah.
I think that might be when we get it, because that'll give people time to play through the raid for a little bit, and then the book comes out, and then we're like, oh, here's a teaser. Here's a thing. Maybe they give us a full cinematic. I don't know. But since I have you here, and on that topic, is the Dragon Isles your chosen expansion as well?
Yeah. I feel like there's just so many things they could do with that. I mean, back in 8.3, I think, when we were talking about, we were doing everything with Mother and the Heart of Azeroth and everything, and we go around with Magni, and he checks in with all the other Titan facilities. There was a couple of unnamed ones, and then one that there's lots of little loose ends there, and I kind of feel like one of them might actually be on the Dragon Isles, and something we need to go check on because there's stuff going on and whatnot. And based on some things that happened, I haven't looked much at the jailer fight beyond the abilities used.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of things there that have some hints on other things we might have to deal with.
Yeah.
Next expansion. I'll just say that just for the sake of spoilers. But I think Dragon Isles is pretty, I feel good about it. I think Khadgar is going to be back. There
we go. Dadgar.
Possibly Rathion, but I do think Dadgar is going to be back. Nice. He's been on the bench, so it's time to, call him back up.
I'm glad that you said that, because it's a perfect way of putting it. There are characters that kind of get benched for a while, then they come out of nowhere. I'm still waiting for Medivh to show up. That's how far back I'm going. I'm like, come on.
He might. I mean, there was a theory that one of the crows or something flying around in Oribos or someone or whatever was Medivh, and I'm like, I don't think so. But you never know.
Where's he at?
Sneaky, but he could be back. I don't know. He could be.
Back. I think it is probably going to be Dragon Isles, but then I also think it could just be something totally wild and we never thought of it, because that's what they're so good at, is tricking us and thinking like, oh yeah, Shadowlands. Shadowlands. Yeah, go tell somebody in Legion that we're going to Shadowlands. Like, what? Who?
Yeah.
When?
They're putting in the effort to really expand the universe, and if you want to keep this kind of game going, you do have to expand the lore to give it that base. And so I mean, it could be. I mean, if we look at BFA, it was like, oh, it's, Horde versus Alliance and everything. Oh, yeah, old gods. We're not battling for Azeroth, we're battling for Azeroth. We're trying to save Azeroth. So it could be one of those expansions where, oh, hey, Dragon Isles, and we're going to help the dragons get powers because of this horrible thing over here. So
that's it.
Who knows?
Hell, the Dragon Isles might not even be on Azeroth. They could be on some other planet that we get to via the Shadowlands. They did say that, it's a doorway to a bunch of different other places that we've never been.
True.
So I don't know. Maybe they got their own planet. Anybody get to go to another goddamn planet out in the middle of nowhere. That's all we need. Just don't blow it up this time. That's kind of it. All right. Well, I think we've said it all. I think we've said it all. So I want to thank you, our amazing guest, lovely and talented Allie, for coming on today. And it's always good to chat with you in and out of games. So I'm really pumped that you were able to come on and chat with me about this one. And I hope everybody's just enjoyed the discussion today. And for folks that don't know where to find you out in the world, where can folks find you out there?
Your best bet is to find me on Twitter at @AlleandersK. That has the links for my other shows and my Twitch and my random things and stuff. But thank you. It has been so much fun, and I've really, really enjoyed this.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to reconvene at some point. We'll have you back later when there's some other major insane lore thing I got to sort out, and I can't handle it on my own. I'll call in reinforcements again. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And a big thank you to every one of you who are listening to this fine program. And remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter at Berzerker Rage and _Fury. You can also find our Discord links, which are in the profile of this show on Twitter and our Warcraft radio page. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources or unshackledfury.com, and you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high, and we'll see you next time. Farewell.